Well, so again, I'm Morgan McMillan. I'm with the Entrepreneurs Foundation of Colorado, also known as Efco. I didn't know actually I was going to be tag teaming with Kyle this morning, so that's great. You're having a full startup community morning. So I hope that we can get you engaged in some of the community events. I'm going to start out by telling you about Rally Software. Does everyone know Rally Software? They're a startup that started in Boulder in 2000, mid-2000s. They IPO'd last year pretty successfully, and this is their founder and CTO, Ryan Martins. He also chairs the Entrepreneurs Foundation of Colorado. So, story about Ryan. Ryan had started 2 successful software companies prior to Rally. He had had 2 successful exits. He had made a bit of money for himself and for his investors, and while Ryan himself was philanthropically engaged, he felt like there was a missed opportunity. When he had had a couple of wins, he felt like he wasn't able to share that win broadly with the community. And so when he was starting Rally Software, he wanted to do something differently. He wanted to build giving back to his community that had helped him build successful companies right in from the very beginnings, and also to engage his employees in that ethos of philanthropy and in giving back to his community. So he was looking for a way to do that. He partnered up with Brad Feld from Foundry Group, which is a venture capital group in Colorado, and they started the Entrepreneurs Foundation of Colorado in 2008. It's modeled on a program that started about 15 years ago in Silicon Valley and had hundreds of companies go through and share a bit of their success with their communities once they had a successful exit. So Ryan and his leadership team set aside 1% of their Series A equity when Rally was in its early stages, and they gave it to the Entrepreneurs Foundation of Colorado in the form of a warrant. Efco then sat on that warrant until Rally successfully exited. They IPO'd last spring. We actually had a holdout on our stock, so we couldn't sell it for 6 months. They IPO'd for about $84 million. And actually, when Efco was able to sell our shares 6 months later, it was worth even, our 1% was worth more. And so Rally's big give back. They had $1.4 million that they gave back to nonprofits in their community when they exited. And that was the stock that Efco held. So we held on to that Series A 1%. We sold the stock. That was worth $1.4 million. Rally then got to determine where they wanted that money to go. The only restriction was that it had to go to a nonprofit anywhere in the country. So they put half into their local community foundation in Boulder County, into the grants fund that supports all nonprofits in Boulder County, and the other half they put into something called the Rally Foundation. So that's an endowed and invested fund at a nonprofit that allows their employees each year to make recommendations to nonprofits where they want the proceeds of that fund to go. So this is how they've engaged their employees ongoing in giving back to their community. Rally has also committed 1% of their employee time annually to volunteer activities for nonprofits, either in their communities or beyond. And then this has helped Rally, according to Ryan and their leadership team, land routinely among the top places to work in the country. They also make this part of their onboarding and their recruitment, and they have found that it helps benefit Rally in the way that they're able to recruit really strong, especially young, excited, entrepreneurial folks who want to come and work at Rally and be part of a business that is beyond, dedicated to something beyond just the bottom line. So that's Rally's story. They kind of are an example of what Efco can be for startups. Let's see. Great. So my pitch to you today is to ask you if you do have a startup or if you know of other startups, I hope you will consider joining the Entrepreneurs Foundation. Why? For one, it's really easy. I am not going to pretend like I am anywhere near the top of 1,001 lists of things to do that entrepreneurs are thinking about for their businesses on any given day. And that's okay, because I don't need to be, because we make the process of joining the Entrepreneurs Foundation very simple. We have materials on our website. We have a warrant that's already drawn up. It's pretty straightforward. You get to fill in the number of shares that you want to set aside. We recommend 1% of either your founding equity or your Series A equity. And then again, you don't have to think about it until there's an exit event. And then it's kind of a bonus that you just help support your community along with whatever else you're celebrating. You as a founder get to decide, or your founding team gets to decide where the money goes, so you have total control over that. You join a network of startup leaders. So Rally Software is one, GNIP, which sold to Twitter, was another Efco member, Foundry Group, Techstars, Fuse Sport here in Colorado Springs joined as our first member in Colorado Springs this past year. So that's exciting, and I'm here this morning hoping to build more members in Colorado Springs. It's free. I mean, right? That's great. There is no cost to doing this. And so again, we're just really trying to encourage companies to do this, to build giving back into their companies, and there's no cost to you as a startup for doing it. The earlier you start, the easier it is. When your equity is not worth very much in the beginning, it's pretty easy to give it away. And the longer you wait to think philanthropically, the more that equity hopefully is getting to be valued, and the harder it is to actually kind of give that away. I promise you, none of the companies who have exited have felt the loss of that 1% of Series A. So again, Rally Software, 84 million IPO, they were not missing that early equity that they gave away. In fact, they were just super excited to add to that success, to be able to share that story that, yeah, we were successful, our employees are successful, and now our community is benefiting from that success. And our community helped us build a really strong company. So again, small commitment today, might not be worth very much today, but it can make a huge impact tomorrow. Keep going. Okay, so here's a smattering of, we have 70 startups in Colorado who have joined. This is not all of them, but you'll recognize a couple that have actually had exits this year. Rally Software, Gnip, or Rally was last year. Gnip was this year, they sold to Twitter. Macavo sold, Doc Popcorn sold. There's a few others that are on there. All of our companies so far have been in Boulder and Denver. So the program started in Boulder. Denver we've been trying to grow more and more into, and now we're hoping again to grow in Colorado Springs. I am the only staff and I am part-time. So I don't have a lot of capacity, and I'll get to sort of what my ask is towards the end. This is our sort of mantra: stronger communities build stronger companies. So we also do volunteering events throughout the year, and I'll talk about that too. It's very easy to join, agree as a founding team. We have pro bono lawyers who will help you with the warrant if you want, and then you get to determine your gift allocation, which nonprofits you want to support. You can start on our website, efcolorado.org. Information and our paperwork is up there. You can't really see this probably from where you're sitting. We have an awesome board. I will say I rely tremendously on my board, full of leaders in the startup community throughout Colorado. So let me just share a little summary of our impact. So far we've given out more than $3 million to community nonprofits all in Colorado from Colorado exits. We also raised over $168,000 to flood relief in 2013 from our members. We annually provide more than 330 hours of volunteer service to nonprofits and to events like Startup Weeks through mentor office hours. We started the Startup Colorado Community Fund with Startup Colorado. That fund is intended to support things like Startup Week, like 1 Million Cups, things that are about supporting the startup community. And we're currently actually partnering with some folks in California, the Salesforce and Atlassian Foundation, to build this model nationally, so to encourage startups to build giving back into their early stages. Employee engagement is another opportunity, getting involved with Efco. These are some pictures of things that we've done, again, volunteering with local nonprofits in your community. And I'm going to close by this guy, another leader in the startup scene, both in Colorado and nationally. That's Brad Feld from Foundry Group. He wrote a book called Startup Communities, and in it he talks about the importance of having startup communities be entrepreneurial-led. And that's, again, he talks about the Entrepreneurs Foundation in that book also, and this whole idea of give before you get. All right, so startup communities often rely on peer support and community support, and you have to continue that ethos of giving before you getting and before you're getting. And that's what Efco is trying to do. So join us, please, and encourage others to join the Entrepreneurs Foundation of Colorado, and I appreciate your questions. Thanks. Yeah, the way back.
First, thank you for doing this for the state of Colorado and for coming down here. Really appreciate youth sports leadership on behalf of the Colorado Springs community being involved in that. One, maybe not a question, but an ask of you, because you talked about even through this helping to kind of market innovation and entrepreneurship around the state. And since we have 1 million cups that's taking off here, we hope that you would consider finding ways to continue supporting this event, because I think it would help to market your name and the foundation here even more.
Totally, that's great, thank you. And I think, I'm always saying also, it's entrepreneurial driven, so founders get to decide where they want money that they give through Efco to go, and so and we really try to encourage them, think about giving back to your community in ways like the Startup Colorado Community Fund, which is funding things like 1 Million Cups and Startup Summer and other programs around the state. Did you have a question in front here?
I did.
Yeah.
You were discussing all the companies and you were saying that one sold, that one sold. Are you just looking for companies that are looking to build and sell, or are you looking for companies that are looking for kind of the longer haul, maybe the 20 to 30 year plan haul before they sell, or are you just looking for somebody who's going to make it quick and sell?
No, I'm looking for all startups, right? I mean, I think the reality is we have 70 companies. Most of them probably are not going to make it, right? And that's part of the startup world, right? And the nice part is there's no risk to joining. So you give away a little bit of your equity. If that company goes away, it's no skin off your back, right? I mean, you don't owe us any money. So it's again a small investment of equity on the front end. Our warrant is dated for out 10 years. So if you go for longer than 10 years, we re-up the warrant hopefully, right? That's okay too. We're not looking for just the successful companies. We want all startups to make this part of the culture, right? Of being a startup in Colorado is that I'm committing a small percentage of my future success back to my community. On the other hand, if you never exit, then your community never sort of sees that benefit. There are certainly other ways, if you're a company that's around for 20, 30 years, that you're benefiting your community. So we don't care. We're just happy to have folks supporting their communities. Yeah.
What have investors thought of the 1% equity?
Yeah, it's a great question. We are lucky in Colorado to have awesome investors who are really supportive of the program. So Founder Group, Access Venture Partners, I'm thinking there are several venture groups in Colorado who are supportive of this program and the commitment, and they, in fact, several of them commit 1% of their carry annually, so they're members of the program also. I haven't heard from a lot of companies that investors out of state haven't been supportive. You can always do 1% of founding equity equivalent, so if you can't get your investors on board, we do have a couple of pitch points for investors, but if you can't get investors on board, but you want to yourself as a founding team commit 1% of your founding equity, that's awesome. And we're just trying to get folks to think about giving back and making that part of the program. Yeah.
Does Efco take an administrative fee or a management fee for the monies that they are managing?
Yeah, no, when I said it was free, I meant it. It's free. There is no fee for joining.
No, not for the joining part, just in the continuance of the financial plan.
There's no fee at any point. You might ask, how do I get paid? And again, we're a real lean operation, so I'm a half-time only staff of the company, or of the organization. We're a nonprofit. When and if there's an exit, we ask at that point that you consider donating a small percentage of that 1% back to the Entrepreneurs Foundation to help us support the program and sustain the operations. So far that has worked. So we've been able to pay me. I'm new to the organization in the last 2 years. Before that it was all volunteer-led, and then they figured that actually it would help us grow if they hired a full-time executive director. So it's a totally optional ask, but most companies have opted to do that. In fact, all companies have opted to do that, but if they exit, they give a little bit back to the Entrepreneurs Foundation. In addition, we do a couple of events throughout the year where we have sponsors and service providers that give a little bit of money to Efco to help with the operations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You said something really quickly about annually. So do you have something where I can give a percentage every year if I'm not going to plan on selling out in the next 20?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You know, we have, so a lot of our companies are C Corps or S Corps, right? So corporations that do an equity warrant. Some are LLCs that do an annual percentage of profit, or and some are investment groups that do a percentage of carry, 1% of carry. So those are all things we would love to work with you creatively to think about how you can join and give back to your community. Yeah.
How do you choose who receives some of that money that's being given back to the community?
It's all founder decided. So I kind of had to, I was flying through trying to make my 6-minute timing, but we partner a lot with community foundations, right? Because community foundations tend to have their finger on the pulse of what are the greatest needs in a community and who's doing the most effective work. And so if you as a startup don't have sort of a passion area that you're really interested in, or even if you do, we encourage you to talk to your local community foundation. Pikes Peak Community Foundation here, we've been talking to them about some of the entrepreneurial work that they're already doing, and I think Fuse Sport is also looking at partnering with them with their decision. But if you had, I don't know, a nonprofit nationally or anyplace else, I mean, you could split it between a number of locations if you wanted to. In Raleigh's case, they ended up sending a little bit of money to Raleigh, North Carolina, Seattle, and someplace else where they had offices, so their employees could also be involved in that way. Yeah.
Yeah, you spoke a bit about the network of companies. I was wondering if you could just say more about kind of how those interactions work between companies, and maybe if that's not fully established, where you want it to go and how that might be an incentive to joining.
Yeah, great. I mean, I think absolutely the network, from what I hear from companies, is part of the incentive, right? Is that you join, still at this point, a fairly tight network. So we only have 70 companies. Many of those founders are, again, startup leaders in the state of Colorado. We do a number of events throughout the year where you have the opportunity to connect with those other leaders, usually around volunteerism. Right? So we'll offer a volunteer opportunity for you and your employees to engage in, and then we'll follow that by some sort of social gathering where you have the opportunity to network in a small setting with other startups who are equally as committed to giving back to the community. I'd say not all startups participate, right? So sometimes they have too much going on, and that's fine. There's no requirement to volunteer. We just want to, we call ourselves kind of the outsourcing of corporate social responsibility for startups. Right? I mean, you don't have enough energy or capacity in-house to organize that kind of stuff. We want to offer that to your employees, but you don't have to participate if you don't want to. And you know, so I also, as a half-time executive director who mostly lives and works in Boulder, and about one day a week I'm in Denver. When Fuse Sport joined, Chris Clark and I had a couple of conversations about I don't have the capacity to be in Colorado Springs on a regular basis. I also have a 11-month-old, so lots of things going on. So he and I talked about my other ask, I guess, to this community is join Efco and join Chris Clark and Fuse Sport in trying to build, and Pikes Peak Community Foundation, in trying to build sort of an active network in Colorado Springs that would probably be mostly volunteer-led, and unless at any point Efco kind of grows our capacity, it would be really community-driven. And I think Pikes Peak Community Foundation is excited also about organizing volunteer events locally for folks involved in Efco.
More questions?
I'm also looking for feedback on the pitch. If there are some things that you found more relevant, compelling than others, please give that to me, because you know we want this to be compelling and tight. So I welcome your feedback. Yeah.
I would put in the part that I can choose annually.
Okay. Cool.
I like that.
Great. Anything else? No, we're good.
Well, how's this conversation going in other parts of the state if that's taking place yet?
Yeah. So I guess the only places that I'm having this conversation are Boulder, Denver, and Colorado Springs. I did one pitch when I was first starting out in Fort Collins, and I haven't been really able to, capacity limits, be too active in Fort Collins, although we were pretty active in helping support their startup week that they did this year and mentor office hours. I think it's being really well received. I mean, you know, most of the time it's really nice for me because I get to meet with interesting, smart people who are enthusiastic about the business they're starting and they want to give back to their communities. And it's, most people have not said, oh, I can't really give away that equity, right? Most people have been pretty open to it, so that's awesome. It's just a matter of sometimes getting people to follow through on, yeah, I'm enthusiastic, and just sign that warrant and get it back to me, and then we're done. So that's been probably my biggest challenge, yeah.
One just general comment, and
Yeah.
this isn't a you issue,
Yeah.
this is a parochial issue. Yeah, I think around the state, people may feel like, oh, this is a Boulder thing, this is a Denver thing, so as you're making that pitch, I think it's really important to talk about the state and how we're supporting the state. Not saying that that wasn't, but even around this room when you began talking, I heard people go, we should do that here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people were meaning we should do that like by ourselves here or versus like be part of this bigger statewide network.
Cool,
So
yeah.
I think it's it's a state initiative, correct?
Exactly. Statewide, we're trying to sort of lift all boats in Colorado, and again, it is totally driven by community. So Colorado Springs companies give back to Colorado Springs community, and what we're trying to do is just have one lean operation to help companies do that. So that's good feedback to us.
It's like you provide the lawyers, you provide all the support.
Yes.
Like otherwise it's gonna cost someone, if they want to do it on their own, that's great, but like you're helping them do it really easily.
We want to make it really easy and free.
Are you unique nationally, and have you thought about scaling yourself to other states?
Yeah, so I also skimmed really quickly over that in my rush to get done in 6 minutes. But so it was started in Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley's Entrepreneurs Foundation is actually not active right now. There is a really active Entrepreneurs Foundation in Austin. There is one that is pretty active in Dallas, but they don't operate in the same way. They're called the Entrepreneurs Foundation of Northern Texas, but they don't take equity, and they sort of focus just on the volunteering aspect. So yes, to answer your question, we have thought about scaling. It was not something that we intended to do, but we were approached by Salesforce and Atlassian, which are both companies in San Francisco. Salesforce kind of made famous the model of 1-1-1, they call it. Give 1% of your equity, 1% of your employee time annually to volunteerism, and 1% of your product. Mark Benioff, their founder, made this famous. They go around the world talking about this, and they have hundreds of companies who have come to them to say, from around the country and around the world, saying, we want to do that too, how do we do it? And Salesforce didn't have any place to send them, so they approached us about a year ago saying, hey, can we send them all to Colorado? Will you just file that and let companies give out? And we said, sure. So that's been a lot of my time over the last year we're working on. We have built a website. If you want to check it out, I'd love your feedback. It's public. It's just we haven't publicly launched it yet. We're working on a launch in the next couple months. It's called pledge1%.org. You'll notice that we took Colorado out of the name because we figured companies in Seattle didn't want to give to Colorado. So it will all be run through Colorado. And then again, 100% of the money will go back out to communities wherever the companies are. So pledge1%.org, please check it out. Give me your feedback. We still have to build out a couple pages, but it's what it's intended to do. So thanks for catching on to that.
Shane, you ready? Just
Great, thank you. So number one, please, if you have a startup, join Efco. Or if you know of somebody who has a startup, join Efco. Also, if you want to get more involved in sort of this and the opportunity to get startups volunteering, giving back, spreading the message, I'd love to get you linked up with Chris Clark and the folks at the Pikes Peak Community Foundation to see if we could start sort of a thriving Efco network here in Colorado Springs. It'd be awesome. I mean, Chris and I have talked about let's just see what happens. Let's throw it out to the community and see what happens, and it will be totally community-led. So that's what I'm looking for. And also feedback. Again, if you have other thoughts after this pitch, you can get my email off the website. I'll be here. I've got cards. And on the website, you can download all the materials for membership. You can also, again, follow up with me. You can see what other companies are involved. So,
great.
Yeah.
Thank you again for
Thank you.
for all this.